borderline personality disorder. I realized something has been missing from Mr. BPD videos. And that, quite frankly, there hasn't been enough Mr. BPD. These windows are all open, which means everybody in the whole trailer park is going to think I'm crazy. You got to remember to close the windows so they don't think you're crazy. They shouldn't think I'm crazy now. They can probably still see me, so they probably will think I'm crazy if they can still see me. Haha, success. Mr. Son of a bitch. More windows. Now I am done closing 50. A fucking fly. Shoe fly? I hate flies. I hate flies so incredibly bad that I could dedicate a whole Mr. BPD episode or podcast or video, whatever you want to call whatever Mr. BPD does. I could dedicate the whole damn thing to hunting down and killing one fly. I hate them so bad I could spend a good 45 minutes to an hour doing nothing but hunting a fly. And then, to top it all off, I probably wouldn't even kill the son of a bitch. He'd probably still get away. Where are you, fly? Shoo, fly away, shoo, fly away. Fly away with me, shoo, fly away. Fly away with me, shoo, fly. Ah, shit. Borderline personality disorder. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mr. BPD channel, a channel completely dedicated to BPD. How it affects the lives of those with it. Also, how it affects the ones that love those with it. If you are interested in BPD, have BPD, or just stumbled across this channel wanting to know what BPD meant, please hit that subscribe button. Be sure to ring-a-ding-ding the notification bell. And you would really help this channel out. Today, we should talk about something that has to do with BPD, borderline personality disorder. An individual with BPD can sometimes 100% know exactly what they're doing and not care. I used to believe that these outbursts that I would have, or even the manipulation I would do, all these BPD negative things that I would do were completely beyond my control. I believed that for a long time, that I had no control over it. I couldn't stop it. It was inevitable. It was just going to happen. then, after taking some personal responsibility and doing some soul searching and becoming really honest with myself, I started to realize that I could stop these events from happening. I didn't have to fly off the handle and put holes in the walls. I didn't have to intimidate people so I could feel like I was big and strong. I didn't have to, prove that I was the craziest person out there or try to manipulate you into believing that I was a sweetheart that just did bad things. I started to realize where I was manipulating, being able to understand it, even being able to go back and in hindsight, play it out and see where I had manipulated at what stages. This blew me away to find out that sometimes I was manipulating people for years. It seemed all thought out and methodical and planned, though, in hindsight. And when I would go and explain it to individuals, it would sound like I'd planned it out, because I'm able to tell them, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and oh, look here, I ended up getting what I wanted by doing all this manipulation. I wasn't thinking about it when I was doing it. Does that mean that I couldn't have stopped it? Does that mean that I was not in control of it? If you're not aware that you're doing it, can that be an excuse? Will that bring relief or understanding or closure to the ones you manipulated? Will that ease their pain at all? That you were unaware of what you were doing, even though you can, in hindsight, see how you did it and understand that you did it. You can also, now that you are aware of it, you can see when you're doing it in the present. I can start to tell when I'm manipulating. I have to think about it. With every action I do, I have to question my motives. I have to really think about my motives and try to figure out, is this a manipulation ploy? Am I trying to get something from this? Or am I being genuine? Or is my manipulation in a genuine way? I mean, not all manipulation is bad. And you have a job and you have a boss and you want your boss to like you, because if your boss likes you, well, it's going to make the work environment better. So you may manipulate your boss into liking you by pretending to like things they like more than you might actually. But that's harmless. Everybody does some forms of manipulation. What I'm talking about is those evil manipulation things where you get somebody in close and then you start isolating them, and then you're the only one that they can associate with, and then it becomes this twisted mess of toxicity, and you're needy and they're feeding your neediness and you're sucking the life right out of their body. You're sucking it from them until they're nothing but an empty, crazy husk of a human being. That kind of manipulation. I gotta figure out which one it is and act accordingly. This mask is itchy. That being said, in my outbursts, we'll talk about my angry outbursts that I used to have. When I would have my angry outbursts, it was for attention. I had been wronged in some way, and the reason that I was so angry and so furious was because the more chaos, the more destruction that I caused in my anger, the more attention I got. And the more I felt that you, yes, you, would care about my needs. I was usually mad because some kind of need I felt needed fulfilled, you probably had not fulfilled. Therefore, I give a grand explosion of anger. something that you don't want to go through ever again or deal with. My hope is that to avoid me being so angry, that you'll just bend to my will and do as I want, fulfill those needs that I want fulfilled, no matter how unreasonable they may be. Once again, when I was originally doing this, I did not comprehend it. I didn't know I was doing it. I was not consciously aware of this. Once again, after doing some soul searching and being very true to being very honest with myself, I could start to see where that was the case. I mean, even when I would get angry and nobody was around, I was still angry at a person. So I might destroy an entire room with nobody in it, knowing that eventually people will see the damage I've done and know why, what made me angry. And so they didn't even have to be present. And my outbursts were not only for the person that I felt had not fulfilled my need. It was for anybody. I wanted it to be known to everybody, my temper and my anger, so that everybody would start to bend to my will. Didn't know this consciously at first. Does that mean that I can be forgiven for it? Does that make it somehow understandable or excusable? Does that bring any kind of relief or solace to the ones that had to be afraid of me? Is that a good enough excuse? I didn't know. Forgive me, I didn't know. Should that be a good enough excuse? I don't know the answer. I would like all of you to discuss that amongst yourselves and maybe come up with an answer. I would like to know. Now, in hindsight, looking back, I can see how that was the case. I can also see how I purposely over-exaggerated my anger sometimes. If you throw a cup in the right way, it will break every time, and it'll be spectacular. It's loud. Little pieces of glass go everywhere. Sometimes people get cut. That's really good. Cut an innocent bystander. That'll show how you don't want to piss me off. Innocent people get hurt because you're not fulfilling my needs. Remember, I'm not in the wrong. You're in the wrong because I'm not in the wrong. You made me do it. But cups are good, especially if you use those spaghetti sauce containers, those glass jars spaghetti sauce comes in. I mean, you buy the cheap spaghetti sauce, it's 99 cents. So for 99 cents, you get to throw something that's going to be loud, there's going to be a mess, and people might get hurt. But not hurt so bad that, they die, just minor cuts. I mean, worst case scenario, a piece of glass goes in someone's eye and they lose an eye, but even better. For 99 cents, you can't buy publicity better. So yeah, I'd always chuck these glasses, and it would seem like it was a complete spur of the moment, out of control anger thing, but no, it was very planned out. It was so planned out that I had made sure that I had the sauce jars all cleaned out so I could use them for cups, so I could throw them in a fit. Still wasn't conscious of it at the time. And now I can usually stop my anger because I just realize that there's no point to it. And people aren't really that scared. Now they just get annoyed. Back when we were kids and stuff, teenagers, maybe I could frighten them or whatever, but it's harder to frighten adults. You get into your 40s and stuff, It's like no 40-year-old person is going to be afraid of somebody throwing a cup. I mean, they'll be slightly annoyed. Maybe they don't want to deal with it. Maybe they'll let it slide. They probably won't let you come back over, though. And they probably just won't associate with you. That's the adult thing to do. Just, well, Mr. BPD is not invited next Christmas. Why? Because he threw that spaghetti sauce cup that he always brings, and I'm sick of it. Either that or they drag you outside and beat the living hell out of you. That sucks. Can you imagine that? You're going to throw your big fit. You're going to scare everybody. You throw your spaghetti sauce thing. It breaks. Somebody gets up, just grabs you by the back of the neck, drags you outside, and just beats the living hell out of you. Goes back in and finishes dinner. I don't think I could ever see those people again. That would totally just be the end of everything. And the only recourse you'd have to do something really extreme, like go back in there with a bat and kill the guy. But who really wants to do that, especially after getting your ass kicked? I don't know. So there's downsides to these angry fits. That being said, I found myself last week at work throwing a little 5-year-old tantrum, trying to make my coworkers scared or intimidated because I was having a bad day and I didn't feel my needs were being met, of everybody understanding I was having a bad day. Now, my coworker is about the same age as me, maybe slightly taller, probably about same weight, maybe. I don't know. If it came down to fisticuffs between me and my coworker, I think it'd be a pretty even matchup. I don't think either one of us would be in any way ready to fight in an actual fight. I don't think either one of us is in shape or has probably had a fight in the last probably 10 to 5 years, whatever. So I think we're both horribly out of shape and would be winded pretty much instantaneously. So I think it'd just be a couple punches, then we'd probably go have a beer and then go back to work. But I'm still trying this old game of, I don't feel like enough time has been dedicated to my bad mood, the fact that I'm upset, because everything's going on at work as if I'm not upset, but I'm really upset right here, and nobody seems to care. So I'm going to keep getting angrier and angrier and throwing things until you acknowledge how upset I am, and then let me cry on your shoulder or something. So I'm sitting there, and what we do is we reset shelves. We go into stores that have their store set up the way they want it, with all their merchandise where they want it. And what we do is we go in and we tell them, no. You don't know how to set up your store. Your merchandise sucks. And we're going to take everything. We're going to move it 2 sections over. So your Tylenol is right here, or we're going to move your Tylenol 2 spots over to where your Excedrin is. And your Excedrin is going to go where your Tylenol is. And it's going to screw up everybody when they come in to buy stuff. Ha, 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 ha. And then we leave. That's our job. So I'm throwing things off the shelf onto the floor all aggressive like, and I'm throwing tags everywhere, and I'm just looking like a buffoon. And eventually my coworker got fed up with it and decided, and see, I knew I was doing it. I was consciously aware of it, and I knew I was doing it. I didn't care. That's what I'm saying. I just didn't care at this point because my needs weren't being met. Sometimes the BPD can make you go to crazy town, where even though I knew what I was doing was ridiculous and immature and stupid, it wasn't really getting the effect that I wanted done. I was still doing it because it was still fulfilling that need for attention or whatever. And I didn't want to stop myself. I could have, but I was choosing not to, and I was choosing to get more angry. Finally, my coworker gets upset with it and asks me if we're going to have a problem. Normally, a rational human being at this point would realize that they were pushing things too far, and that's the time to back off, right? You know, because this is the point where it's like you either back off or it can become a brawl out in the street. And my problem's not with my employer, the guy I work with anyway. No, Mr. BPD never chooses the back down option. No, Mr. BPD's default action is to double down on the shitty attitude. So instead of backing off, I'm like, I wasn't having a problem, but now we can have a problem. And I decided to get all tough guy. Yeah, let's go fight in the street, motherfucker. Let's go fight. Because that's mature. Needless to say, the coworker just decided to kind of shake his head at me in disgust and just go back to work. Not taking me up on my manly, you know, let's go fight thing, which made me just suddenly feel very foolish. That's when the foolishness set in, because it was hard to stay mad at that point, because we should have gone and fought in the parking lot. That's what I was hoping would happen. But since we didn't, it made me, for a moment, have to stop and realize how stupid I was being. And then I felt very childish. So a couple tense moments go by. We're doing some stuff with chips. So I pick up a bag of chips. I'm like, hey, look at this. Salt and vinegar. Oh, geez, what will they come up with next? Trying to break the tension in the ice. So I go for just total raging dick. So have you tried these salt and vinegar chips? Needless to say, it took a couple more tries before we actually got a conversation going again, and everything worked itself out. But I could have avoided that whole thing, but I was choosing not to. And hopefully somebody out there gets something out of that. I don't know exactly what I was talking about there. But if you have BPD, maybe you go through this yourself, you struggle with this, and you can understand it. And we need to be better at not purposely doing things we know are wrong or not right and letting it get to us in that way. And for those of you out there that have loved ones with BPD and don't understand it, maybe this will give you a little bit of insight into what's going on in their mind and let you know that even though they're going to try to play it off, they do kind of know what they're doing. Even if they're not conscious of it, they can still realize it. And I don't know if not knowing is a good enough excuse. So until next time, keep on keeping on. See if that makes Deucey Davis happy.